Welcome to Sri Lanka Bante here in Wataraka. Before we begin, would you please briefly introduce yourself and your background?
Yes, well, we try to, the Dhamma, the Buddha Dhamma monk tries to limit himself to personalizing, to personification. And so even though we can give a brief background, we do not wish to go into it too much because we're trying to break down the self-theory. So a background is that there was interest in Buddha Dhamma, this way of understanding cause and effect of life events. Cause and effect in the mental body and cause and effect in the physical body. And so it was after studying Hindu texts and Chinese texts through the philosophies of those Tao, of the Tao and the Ayurveda and the Bhagavad Gita, that there was no answers to the relevancy of experience in those mental and physical bodies. So it was decided to embark upon a course of study in the Buddha Dhammas, in the Tipitaka. And with good advice from Buddhist monks in Sri Lanka, advising to stay with the suttas and don't veer off course as the word was being destroyed. The Dhamma was being destroyed by personalities in the Buddhist community. So I began a study of this field, and 10 years later this is where I am now. And I'm very happy that the results of Dhamma and the guidance I've received from the Sangha have led to some very great understandings of what this Dhamma is all about, this Buddha Dhamma. So this is where we are today.
As an individual from Western world who is embarked upon study in the Buddha Dhamma, what is your personal experience on crossing over to an entirely different culture?
Okay, well that question is easily answered through the advice Buddha giving on how to transform, and this is by practicing the Eightfold Pathway. So it was through a disciplined approach to the Eightfold Pathway that allows transformation, that provides transformation to improve states, to accept things as they are. So that was the basis there for the transformation, and it was realized that just by cycling through this Eightfold Pathway and improving all the points, all the factors each time, going through, reflecting what can be improved, what discipline can be applied, and gradually the transformation takes place to the extent where it was recognized by family members, and even my father's asking, "We want to know what you've been doing. We've noticed a change, and we want to know what it is." And I just mentioned it's the same thing. It's the Eightfold Pathway that I've been practicing all this time. And so my father said, "Well, I want to know how to do it." And so it just led from there, because it was great that they could see this transformation, this change from being wild to being tamed, that this Eightfold Pathway did. So it wasn't as though I had to point out that this is what happens. It was pointed out to me by family members. So that was that's how it is, and it doesn't change to today. It's still the Eightfold Pathway that is the practice for the cessation of unsatisfactory states, to eliminate the stress, to bring the peace, the most profound, the most relaxing peace you'll ever experience in this following this Dhamma.
Okay, now we know in Australia you have been practicing Buddhism to some extent, but now apart from doing that, have you traveled other countries in search of Buddhist teaching?
Well, yes and no. I have travelled to other Buddhist countries, but not in search. It was an interest that I had, so it was just travelling to see what the other monks were doing, observing their behaviour, and looking for a parallel to the way the practice is described in the suttas of the Tipitaka. So I've travelled to many countries. I first travelled to Sri Lanka and Thailand, Malaysia, to Burma, to India, to Nepal, and the United States and New Zealand, and just observing, just watching to see how this practice, see if where this practice has parallels to the Buddha Dhamma described in the Tipitaka. So it was very interesting just moving along and watching these various monasteries, how they practiced the Dhamma and how they understood it, and to see what progress there was in Dhamma towards Nibbana. Nibbana being the goal, and this is what we all look for, and we look for the behaviour of monks that parallels to a Nibbana pathway, so described in many suttas in the Nikayas. And it's certainly a mixed world out there. We have the three major traditions, the Vajrayanas, the Tibetans, and the Mahayanas with the Chinese and the Japanese, and the Theravadas with the Sri Lankans, the Burmese and the Thais. And it's very interesting just to observe the way they practice, and so in the mainstream it's just all like one big school with various ways of practice. So I thought about travelling further afield and seeing if I would walk into some place where there would be subdued practice, a practice of restraint, see the contentment, and just those parallels of practice described in the suttas. There's not many places that are like that. Most places are very busy, a lot of social service and a lot of academic pursuit, but not much in the way of Buddha Dhamma pursuit. And then the ones that do have a Buddha Dhamma practice, it is a practice of a guru, not of the Buddha. And so they practices in a step-by-step movement away from the Buddha Dhamma, the way the Buddha advised to practice. So, so this searching for places where this may be, I think, and I may one day walk in. But oddly enough, I found two places in this travels that do practice this Buddha Dhamma, the way described in the Tipitaka. And one of those places was in the United States, and another place here in Sri Lanka.
So Venerable Sir, now, you're talking about the Buddha Dhamma. Like mainstream, when we talk about Buddha Dhamma, it's more people thinking about the religion, Buddhism as a religion. Now, do you see a difference between the religion and core teaching of Buddha Dhamma, or it is the same thing?
Yes, well, there is and there isn't. Depending on where you are, there are different ratios of Buddha Dhamma and religion. However, when we're reading the suttas, we're finding that this type of religion is not in the suttas. It appears as though this is a coming back in from the days of the Buddha, of the Brahmas, the Brahma religion, where they worshipped, where they had rituals and ceremony for anything and everything they could think of. So, so there is a difference between those two, and the more pure of the practice would be the Buddha Dhamma without the religion, without the chanting, without the worshipping. Because this is a distraction away from the path of Nibbana. And the practice of exercising the cessation of dukkha. This will not be recognized when Dhamma, Buddha Dhamma takes second place, which is what has happened a lot because it's easier around the place. However, so that would be how that would be best addressed, and this can be easily verified just by reading the suttas. They're there for reference, that's the idea of them. They're the words that were heard to have been spoken in the day of the Buddha, and they haven't changed. Those original words are still there, waiting and open for individuals to translate. And this is the better course of practice, to understand what occurred during the Buddha's life in those Nikayas, the Tipitaka, mainly the Nikayas, the suttas, they are the more closer to the Buddha word. The Buddha word providing the Buddha Dhamma, this pathway to Nibbana. This all we are trying to achieve is Nibbana. And when we find a community that is talking only Nibbana, and what conditions are required for Nibbana, these factors of the Eightfold Pathway, there we find Nibbana. There we find the confidence and the way forward to Nibbana, this most restful peace of mind and body, to be fully experienced here and now for those wishing and willing to do such. Never to be found in a religion, only getting further away from Buddha Dhamma that leads to Nibbana. No rest at all.
So now we know a lot of people, those who practice Buddhist teaching or Buddhism, they visit India to see all these places of Buddha's birthplace and his attainment and his Mahaparinibbana, etc. So have you been to India, and would you like to tell us about your personal experiences about these places?
Yes, sure, yes. I first went to India in 2004 and 2005. Some friendly Sri Lankan monks I knew in Brisbane said that they were going on a pilgrim tour around the Buddha lands in North India, and suggested I come along, and I thought, well, this would be very good, because it was about 18 months after I'd been reading up on the Buddhist texts, and I thought this is a very good idea. I also reading in the Parinibbana Sutta, where the Lord Buddha suggesting that at least in your one lifetime you visit these places, you visit one of these places that he has been to. And these important places he listed as his birthplace, his place of the first sermon, his, what was his other one, his birthplace, the first sermon, and his enlightenment place, and the Bodhi tree, and his death, the Parinibbana at Kushinara. So I'm thinking, yeah, this is good. And when we're going with there was about 100 pilgrims from Kandy in Sri Lanka. So I thought, wow, this would be a good trip. So and very economical too. We flew from, well, I flew from Australia to Kandy, and then in the whole group there's about 120. We travelled by bus to the Colombo airport. We flew to Madras. We stayed there for 2 nights, and then we travelled by train to Varanasi, and then we travelled from Varanasi all around the Buddha sites: Sarnath, Buddhagaya, Lumbini, Savatthi, Kushinara, and many others, Vaishali, many other places, Kosambi, and this was very good. I was thinking, oh, well, this is great. I'm seeing all these things, all these monasteries in Buddhagaya, and the monasteries in Kushinara, and Lumbini, and Savatthi, the Jetavana Grove. And I'm looking at these, looking at the construction. I'm very interested in the construction. I am from the construction industry, so I'm very interested looking and seeing how these all put together and how they still there today, and the stupas, the burial mounds, and the memorial mounds, and the Ashokan pillars, all these Buddhist artifacts. It was a real eye-opener to be with this, and with all these people. It was very, very motivating and energising. We're going everywhere. Rajagaha, the Vulture's Peak. We're walking everywhere, and then it was about just recently, November in 2012, I decided to go back there again, and this time I was following the book that a monk wrote for pilgrims, which associated all the suttas the Lord Buddha spoke about and the different towns all throughout northern India, all throughout the Buddha land. So I thought this would be very good. I can go place by place and recall the suttas in this place and get more feeling out of this. However, when I went to the visa office in Kandy to collect the passport for the Indian visa, I ran into a Sri Lankan monk there and was talking to him, and he suggested that, I suggested that if he in India, at the airport when I arrived there, he can travel around these lands with me because I have the car. The car was being supplied, so he could come. So we talking, and then he's suggesting that there's also another alternative to this Buddha land suggested in India. And I'm very interested because at that point I knew of 2 alternatives, and that was the first one being the lands in North India, the second one being the lands in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Gandhara, Taxila. They also referred to as birthplace of the Buddha and roaming places of the Buddha. So I thinking, oh, here's another one, here's third. So he telling me, yes, this beautiful island Sri Lanka has also been suggested as the land of the Buddha. So I say, oh, okay. So I say, well, why are we going to India then? And he's saying, well, we can do further research in India, and this time we can make the comparisons compared to the geography described in the suttas and the customs described in the suttas, and see if they are in place in India. So I'm thinking, yeah, this is good, this okay, this is very good. So we're doing this. We're checking out the variations in the various places, and in Lumbini we're looking for the cave that the Lord Buddha described in the Sakha Sutta, the Indashala cave, And we're looking around Lumbini and we couldn't find any caves. So we're thinking, okay, here's a good point, this is a good starting point. We find a difference straight away to what has been described in the suttas. So then we're going down, we go into Buddha Gaya, and we're seeing that the distance between the banyan tree and the Bodhi tree that Lord Buddha attained enlightenment under, there in Buddha Gaya, India, this banyan tree on the other side of the river. And it didn't make sense that after awakening up to many falsehoods, that Lord Buddha would then traipse through the riverbank and up the other side to a banyan tree, back and forwards for 7 weeks. So we're thinking, yeah, well, okay, this is another one. And then we're also reading in that sutta that, I think in same sutta, that for 7 weeks he walking backwards and forwards. And on the last week of that month, he decided to let this awakening be known to his 5 friends who were looked after him before his awakening, and they were in Sarnath. And that in the next week he would walk there. Well, we're seeing that Sarnath is, goodness me, I can't be too accurate, but it's easy enough for everyone to measure with the amount of maps around the world today on the distance between Buddha Gaya and Sarnath is well over 350 kilometres, and would take much longer than 1 week to walk that far. And I know I've heard some people saying, oh, well, he flew. Oh, that's a funny one. I've heard lots of monks mention that one too, about other instances where they flew. And this is how they cover up this discrepancy. Anyway, so to speak, that was just some. And okay, so I'm thinking, yes, this is very interesting. This very interesting, and also thinking, yes, well, this land also in North India, very barren, very dusty, and is not fitting for such a great man, such a Buddha, to be born in and to roam around. It just didn't make sense. That why would such a great being be born in such a desolate area? You have to go there to experience it. The air quality is not bad, it's not good. The pollution, the smog, the dust, and there's no scenery, so to speak of, unless you go a long way away. So then that was good. I took the monk that was with me. He fell prey to the allergies there, and so I took him up to the Himalayas, and we spent the rest of the time in the Himalayas. And then when we come back to Sri Lanka, we have a look at the places that have been suggested as the Lord Buddha's places in Sri Lanka. And so we go into Hiriwaduna, the awakening, the Bodhi tree, the Jaya Siri Maha Bodhi tree. We're looking there, and we're also reading that every year on the Vesak, this tree sprouting a white sapling. So this is very interesting. And then we're looking and seeing the artefacts around there made of solid stone. The seat that King Muchalinda made for Lord Buddha, and the chamber that he made to protect him from the rain. This all made sense compared to a big snake coming out from somewhere and spreading his hood to protect him from the rain. That's very mythological and sort of like fantasy. I suppose if you're very interested in Disneyland, this would be very appealing. So anyway, but I thought, well, this is very interesting, and we were in this place at Hiriwaduna for 4 days, because as soon as we got in, well, we went there when it was raining, and the river rose, and they say in this river, the Naranjala, and we couldn't get out because it flooded the road. So we're there for 4 days, and this was very nice time, very, very well spent, just just observing, just sitting, and just this very amazing place. To be truly appreciated is to go there. That's the best thing to do. No point listening to anybody. It is best go there and experience this place and see these factors in place. See the Vajrayana stone at the base of the Jaya Siri Maha Bodhi tree, with the tree wrapped around this Vajrayana stone. It's quite something. Anyway, so that was that one. And then we are going up to Isambasangala, and they say this is the Istipatana Park, this is the deer park. So we're seeing the Arahat cave there. We're looking at more out of it. And this country in Sri Lanka all around, very, very green, very scenic, and this makes much more sense to be in the land that the greatest human being would ever grace. This beautiful island of Sri Lanka with its beautiful hilly country and its beautiful green scenery and these wonderful artefacts that made sense. This Isambasangala is shorter than 1 week's walk from the Bodhi tree, the awakening tree, the Siri Sada tree, the Bodhi tree. Is in distance, this place probably about 50 to 70 kilometres away. And on the way in between there's another place called Ritigala that I visited in 2004, and this is suggested as being the Jetavana grove. Such a magnificent place. The stone carved buildings that remain there, the ruins, and the pathways that are still there, solid stone pathways that just meander throughout the forest. And you just think, goodness me, like, yes, this could be really something like a place that Anita Pindika gave to Lord Buddha for him to stay in because of its beauty and because of then what was built around it. Why would anything else be built there, for goodness sakes? This mountain range, this Ritigala mountain range, this sheer beauty. And so then after that I undertook the rest by myself. I went to what was suggested as the Lumbinia, just outside of Kandy, and I was actually helped along the way because I had discovered the hidden treasures on YouTube, and these kind gentlemen, these Dhamma gentlemen, had taken videos of these places that allowed me to look for the sal tree at the Bambaragala caves, which is suggested as being the Lumbinia. And I found this beautiful sal tree, and it was just, the timing was just right when I got there, because all around the tree were these white crystals and this beautiful fern like grass growing. And the roots of the tree were, goodness me, 12 inches thick, 12 inches in diameter, and travelling for 30 metres. And I'm thinking, wow, this is a very old tree and no others around. And to the side of the major grounds, to the side. So it was only recently that I was there in 2013, and I was there again, and I was picking up some of these white crystals, and a Sri Lankan man came along, and he was very happy to see a monk around this tree, and I pointed out the importance of this tree. But this time there were brown leaves covering everything. I was removing them, and he was saying, he says, Sadhu, he said, Bhante, he says, if you give me your email address, I wish to clean this place up and then send you a photo of it cleaned up, because this tree is very important in the history of the Buddha. So that was just a wonderful thing to happen there. And anyway, then after that, I'm looking at that, and I see in the caves, the Indushala cave and the well, the scholar monks say Brahmya, but it's the actual name for the script is Helabhima, which was the ancient name of Sri Lanka. So this Helabhima script is inscribed in stone above the caves, indicating that these caves were given to Lord Buddha as a gift for Lord Buddha and the Sangha. So I think, well, this just gets better. Here now are some evidence leaning that way, and we have a very beautiful land that is befitting the greatness of the greatest man to ever grace the planet. And so then it was on to Buddhagala, which they say is the Kushanara. So then I travelled to Buddhagala through this beautiful scenic country, and out at the end of the Kaltota range at the bottom is Buddhagala. And the monk there very welcoming and providing a room to stay in. And he have very many cuttings up of the newspaper reports suggesting this, the Parinibbana of Lord Buddha. He's very happy with that. And then right next door to this temple are the grounds where the cremation took place. And this beautiful, carved into this beautiful hillside, this green hillside, the trees and the stone, solid stone foundations are still there, and the solid stone stairways leading up the stairs. Truly remarkable. So this really lends a lot of weight, and this is how we assess things these days in this modern world. We measure it and we weigh it, and through weight of evidence we can see that these things are happening. These things have occurred. These things relative to the sutta in Sri Lanka. Now there is another site that has been discovered, and this, they say, this site over 1,600 acres. This site, and has been suggested as Rajagaha. They call in Rajagala. The ruins there, I've seen the photographs. I am yet to go there. I hope to go there shortly. But the evidence is there too from the photographs I see. The cave that was built for the first council, and all the other caves, and all the ruins, and the ruins of the various tribes, the various states that have come there and made themselves be known to the Lord Buddha. They all there. I've seen the photographs, so now I go there and I look in, and I also asking, is there a mountain nearby this place? And they say yes, there are many mountains. So this is going to be very interesting indeed. Now, having travelled these places, I must say that is very inspiring and very deepening of this Buddha Dhamma, because I have now met a monk here and his community, and all they talk about is Buddha Dhamma. That monk, Dhammalankara, hearing Watikaraka. Wate Reka, I get this pronouncing right. And this all they're talking about, constantly. Non-stop, Buddha Dhamma as described in the suttas, the Sutta Nikayas. But we are getting closer to the word of the Buddha here, very close, because as the scholars and other monks understand, the Buddha spoke a language different to the common language. And so this Buddha language is now coming to the front. And this is giving us more depth of experience in this Dhamma, this Buddha Dhamma, that you won't find anywhere else. If you do, please let me know. I'm happy to go there and see for myself. I find in one other place in the travels where this Buddha Dhamma is rejoiced in the way it is in the suttas, and that is the establishment, or should I say the forest centre in Missouri, USA, of Bhante Vimalaramsi. So there's two monks close to this Buddha Dhamma. And we're helping each other now because this vast communication network available to everyone, the internet, is there for all. This is the age of information. You want any information, you can find it. No different to the old days when we wanted information, we went to the library. This is the same thing. This is an electronic library. Yes, we have to be careful what we read, but we can verify such by way of practice. This can be easily verified by way of practice. No other way can this be verified. This Buddha Dhamma. But this Buddha Dhamma brings us closer and closer to Nibbana, this most restful peace on this planet, and the pathway leading to it provided to us by Lord Buddha.
So Venerable Sir, I have one more final question for you. Now, with this conversation, what's your message to the entire world?
Well, the whole world has this message and wants this message. And this message is peace. And this peace begins right here. Right here is where this peace begins. Not anywhere else but here. And I'm not meaning this place here in Sri Lanka. I'm talking about this place here, where you are right now, this body. This is where peace begins, right here. So, if we wish this peace, this is a very good way to begin, is to follow this Eightfold Pathway and see the progression, see the change. This what does it. This Buddha Dhamma, this Eightfold Pathway, providing the transformation to peace.
So Venerable Sir, we know you come to this place here in Pataraka all the way from Australia. Now, we express our heartiest gratitude for your presence here and for your time and for your good motivation to speak to the world. So here again, we wish you all the best for your spiritual journey. And thank you very much.
Okay, very good. I'm very happy to do this. And may everybody find Nibbana. Nibbana here. Lord Buddha saying it is possible in 7 days Nibbana.